For 9 years, Jack Williams was functionally nonverbal, unable to clearly communicate with anyone because of autism. But Jack's mother, Joy, introduced him to a video camera that allowed him to process the complex three-dimensional world through a simple two-dimensional viewfinder. Within a year, Jack learned to communicate on his own. Their family has experienced an incredible journey, to say the least. Joy and I continued in our discussion and focused on the personal struggles and parenting issues they faced as an exceptional family. What kind of emotions and, struggles were you going through with your husband?
Having a kid is hard on a marriage. You almost have to learn what you're doing all over again. You know, because you get to know each other as a pair, you get to know each other as a married pair, sort of managing a household, and then you have a kid and you have to kind of get to know each other again. There's these new parts of the relationship that need to come into play.
Because you're adding new roles of mom
You're adding new
and
roles
dad.
and distinct responsibilities,
Right.
and there's always a lot of sort of chafing and adjustment that goes on. But when the child that is between you begins to fall away,
There's nothing to fear.
you need to agree to do something, and until an agreement to take action occurs, it's bad. It really gets ugly, because there's nothing more important to you in the world than your own child. And to have this person that you're just attached to telling, making judgments on what should be done, not just him to me, but me to him,
Right.
It's really, really hard on the relationship. I can't imagine anything that would be harder.
Renee and I struggled with that a lot too. We weren't on the same page a lot with what was going on internally with our emotions with Zachary. I was facing, once I got the diagnosis, it was lost dreams, shattered expectations, and this big heartbreak. And she took on the mother role, just let's move forward. What can we do now? What can we do next? How did you two get through this period and stay together, kind of beat the odds? Because the odds are so against you.
They're so against you, and we're still struggling with it. We're still struggling with it, but not like, not like it was in the beginning, because you kind of get there when you get there, and we didn't get there at the same time.
Right. I totally understand.
But it was hard. It was hard. It was really hard. And one of the ways that Roger was able to deal with what was becoming more of an aggressive nagging on my part was just to take Jack away. He would just load him up in the car, and they would be gone every weekend. He was his son. It was his mini him. And
didn't want anything to be wrong.
He didn't want anything to be wrong. And I think to a large extent, when something is wrong with your child, it's a reflection on you. It's like your first thing is to take it on yourself, because you want to be able to replace what is wrong with your child. You just want the problem to go away, and you will take in whatever is necessary to make whole your child. And I think this was Roger's way of doing that, was just to get rid of the nagging wife and go off.
Were you nervous to have another child? Was it an apprehension? Renee and I go back and forth about this right now in our life.
Yeah, it was, it made me nervous. It made me nervous because having a special needs child hits you twice economically. It hits you economically because you have to really gear up and buy all kinds of things that you don't have to buy for a regular child. You can't go to a garage sale and find these things. There is not a pocket in this house anywhere that doesn't have some kind of developmental toy that we got to help him with something.
Right.
But it also hits you because it really prevented me from working at all. So we lost the big income, and we had all this expenditure at the same time. So we went from being yuppies to being on food stamps. We were on food stamps for a while. And that's a big plummet. You hit the skids financially, and you hit the skids socially. Your friends don't mean to do this, but they kind of stop inviting you to their own birthday parties.
Right.
They may make a cameo at yours, but
maybe.
Yeah. So you then become very nuclear, and if there's problems in the nucleus, as there are in a lot of these families, life can be very, very bitter for a while.
Right. Very bitter, very difficult, very isolating.
Yeah. It's like all the oxygen is just sucked out of your day.
Good catch, Dad.
And you just kind of have to, you have to stay at it for a while. You just have to stay at it. But it doesn't last. That part of it doesn't last.
What advice would you have for any parents out there who might just have gotten the diagnosis of autism for their child?
Own the diagnosis. Do not be ashamed. I had a shirt made for him that says, "I'm autistic and functionally nonverbal. If you need help, ask for Jack's mom." So by looking at that, they knew that there was a mom nearby. They knew that his name was Jack. And I even put my phone number on it in case he got separated from me. That helped everybody in any kind of crowded situation know what they were looking at. And so they wouldn't just say, "Hey kid, you gotta wait your turn." It prevented the world from attacking him.
Right.
Because that's what people would do. They just expected this boy who really does look normal. If you walked by him on the street and he was just kind of walking around with his camcorder, you wouldn't think for a second that if he were doing something odd, that you shouldn't correct him.
The T-shirt's a really good idea. Did you catch any negative feedback from people?
Never.
Never?
Never.
Nice.
Never. In fact, people would come up to me and they would say, "This is such a good idea. This is such a good idea." And it gave Jack space. People didn't crowd up against him in line.
Right.
If he was starting to, flap or gasp or, or just repeat something, they wouldn't go, "Yeah, what's wrong with you, kid?" I mean, people can be rude when they don't know what they're looking at. But people don't want to be rude. They don't want to be rude. They want to be kind. Give them an opportunity to be kind. That's my tip to parents. The camcorder ended up working out really well for Jack. I don't know if anybody else is going to have success with it, but they're going to have success with something. And they need to take in all the advice you can, but don't take it really to heart. Just take it in and put it on the bookshelf. The only person that really is there to teach you is your kid. And just listen, study him, look for patterns.